If your daily experience is one of stress, overwhelm, and fear, I can show you a way out. And I will, right now, today. Let's do it. There are 5 keys to a stressless, fearless life. Now, I want you to take those words exactly at their face value. I'm not saying you'll never have any stress. I'm not saying you'll never have any fear. It's stress less and fear less. So, that being said, less stress and less fear is better. Yes? Yes. I'm hallucinating. You're nodding with me saying yes. And the less stress and the less fear you have, the lower your cortisol levels, the higher the levels of other neurotransmitters that make you happy and joyous. And that's important because those neurotransmitters make it possible for you to access a state of being in which you are at your best. You can accomplish your most. You can achieve your purpose. And let's start with the first of the 5 keys, which is purpose. When you have a purpose in your life, I don't just mean like, I just got to get up and pay the bills and drag myself through another day. That's not purpose. That's torture. Purpose is there's a reason you want to spring out of bed in the morning. You want to get right to it. You want to see what the day has to offer because you know it's going to be exciting and fun. It's going to move you forward toward your goal of the big mission you're trying to achieve in your life. And don't worry if you don't have that right now. If you don't know what your big purpose, your big mission is, here's the little secret. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. It's going to develop. And it's going to take time. But right now you can pick a purpose. Now, I can tell you what the purpose of your life is. The purpose of your life is to find the eternal creator who made you to be the person he made you to be. I'm talking about God. That word carries a lot of baggage for a lot of people. You may have had some bad experiences in the past with people using that word, so I'm okay with you using other words. You can talk about your higher power. You can talk about source or the ultimate reality. I think we're talking about the same personal being, God. In some other episode, I'll get into the reasons why I believe that to be true. I do have reasons. I have a feeling, but I also have firm, rational reasons. Just for now, pretend you believe. Pretend you believe that you have a purpose for which you live. And that purpose is God's plan for your life. And it's a good plan. And it's there to do you good and do others good as well. You must have a purpose. It'll sustain you. It'll push you through the hard times. If you don't have a purpose, have you ever been depressed and felt like, I don't feel like I have a reason for living? And maybe you've even considered or attempted to take your own life because of that. It happens a lot more than it ever did in the past. And it's because people have lost their purpose. They've lost their reason why. My friend Gail Hyatt said something once that has stuck with me all these years. She said, people lose their way when they lose their why. So make sure you have a firm purpose. You can articulate it. You can say what it is. And that will sustain you through the hard times. Key number 2 to having a stressless, fearless life, a life with less stress and less fear, gratitude. My friends, gratitude is a weapon. It makes you the victor over fear, over depression, over anxiety. Those are not bad in and of themselves. They have a purpose in our emotional dashboard. God puts them there to alert us to times when things are wrong. We need to pay attention to that. But when those signals are going off all the time, that means your nervous system is dysregulated. It's not operating according to the specifications of the original designer. And you got to fix that. And you can. When you're off into the land of fear, depression, and anxiety, 2 things are true. Number 1, you're not experiencing gratitude. I'm not making you wrong in some way. I'm just saying this is the source. If you want to fix the problem and relieve yourself of these terrible feelings, gratitude is the medicine that will do it. You have to consciously acknowledge what you're grateful for and be aware of it at all times, especially when fear, depression, and anxiety start creeping in. And I have a specific technique I use for doing this. I'll tell you about that in the next video probably. But for now, just know when you start feeling off track, take a moment, take a breath, think of something you can be grateful for. It doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. It can be a simple thing like, I'm grateful I brought this glass of water into the studio with me because my throat's dry right now. But feel it. Feel the gratitude. Feel the gratitude for having a clean glass, having clean water. I'm just grateful. These are not huge things, but they're huge to me. And this little gratitude break, by the way, just elevated my mood a couple of notches. It works. Key number 3 to less stress and less fear in your life. Talk to yourself more than you listen to yourself. This is important because we say things to ourselves inside all the time that are not helpful. In fact, they're destructive. This whole concept of talking to yourself instead of listening to yourself makes the difference in having a conscious script running in your head that you chose versus having an unconscious script that you did not choose. The unconscious script, when you're passively just listening to whatever's going through your brain on automatic pilot, you're running the program that runs your life. It was designed by all the people around you, by your pastors, your teachers, your parents, your lovers, your enemies, your government. Everybody has a design for your life, and it's usually to make their lives better. When you just let your thoughts randomly percolate the way they do, habitually, you may think you're in control of them, but notice when you start feeling bad, depressed, anxious, fearful, start tracing back what you've been thinking about, and you'll come back to a point where you can find the place where you lost your peace, where you got lost, where you said, oh, I forgot I got that problem conversation I got to have, or whatever the case may be. You come up with some fearful thing that makes the cortisol shoot through your body, makes your heart rate get higher, makes you start feeling fearful and down. That's the program running to ruin your life. So become the programmer. Don't run the program. How do you become the programmer? You've got to break the habit of being yourself. Break the habit of doing things the way you've been doing them. Break the habit of that internal dialogue running free. Take control of that internal dialogue. Take charge of the inner conversation by asking questions. The person who asks the questions controls the conversation. Isn't that true? Don't you already believe that? Haven't you found that when you are asking the questions, the conversation is suddenly within your control? Like it is right now. It's what I'm doing right now, isn't it? I'm asking questions, aren't I? Ask the right questions and then speak out the right answers. So here's an example. If you got a big problem that just pops up on your radar and it makes you feel afraid and panicky and fearful, and you're feeling like, this always happens to me, that's the program running right there. But stop that program and take a deep breath and ask yourself the question, well, what's great about this? And your instant subconscious response will probably be nothing. Nothing is great about this. Well, ask what could be great about it. If something could possibly be great, what could that be? And your subconscious will suddenly relinquish control, and you begin to have this conversation in your prefrontal cortex where you start thinking, well, what could be great about it is, it could be this caught my attention in time for me to stop a disastrous thing from happening. I've got the power to influence this situation that I was worried about a minute ago. Keep asking us better questions like, how can I use this to my advantage? And that can generate all kinds of great answers. What does this make possible? That's another great question. What does this make possible? And as you begin to ask the right questions, now you're talking to yourself instead of listening to yourself, and you have less fear and less stress. Key number 4 to a fearless and stressless life: growth and contribution. A growth mindset, like the one described by Carol Dweck in her book Mindset, is vitally important because in nature, things are either growing or they're dying. Which would you prefer? There's no middle ground. You're either growing or you're dying. So you want to grow. We have built into us, we have the desire to grow, to learn, to expand, to become more. That's where our desire for more comes from. It's not bad. Our Creator put it within us. In fact, the first thing our Creator ever said to us was, be fruitful and multiply. That's abundant thinking. It's creating abundance from abundance. I know this sounds too easy, too good to be true, but it's too good, and it is true. Think about this. According to Tony Robbins' 6 Human Needs Psychology, and this has been endorsed by therapists, psychiatrists, by mental health associations. The guy they used to say was a charlatan now trains the whole therapy world on human needs psychology because he's been proven right. There are 6 basic needs all humans have, regardless of what culture you live in, what language you speak, what your background is, what religion you are. We all have these same needs. They are certainty. We need safety, the feeling of security that we're going to be okay. We have a desire for that. So in our Western society, we build up all these walls around us. We build the walls of our house, the walls of our profession, the walls of our neighborhood, the walls of insurance, the walls of money, the walls of investment. Build all these walls to protect ourselves so we can be certain we're going to be all right. And then life comes along and throws this little monkey wrench in the works, which is when you're totally certain about your life, you know everything's going to happen to you every day. You know everything that's going to happen at work. You know everything your spouse is going to say. I'm going to say this. She's going to say that. What do you get? When you're saturated for certainty, you get bored. Which brings up human need number 2, uncertainty. We need variety to keep us interested. We need surprise. We need excitement. It's like God had a sense of humor. He built these 2 basic fundamental needs into us that we have no choice about. We need these. These are not desires. These are not things you want. You must have these, and you will fulfill them, either in a good way or a bad way. So you have the need for certainty and the need for uncertainty, and they oppose each other. But it keeps life interesting. It keeps us in the tension of the balance between the 2. So there's ways to manage these needs in a healthy way that does not destroy your life, and there's unhealthy ways to do it too. Let me move on. Need number 3 is the need for significance, the need to feel important, the need to feel that you matter. And this is one that in our society we seem to be hung up on. Like all this talk about narcissism comes from this need for significance that we all have. High quality ways of meeting those needs, and there are low quality destructive ways of meeting those needs. So being significant by being violent and being so mean that people are scared of you makes you very significant, but it's not a very high quality way of getting significance. So that's need number 3, significance. Need number 4 is connection and love. Now again, think about this. If a person has a primary need of significance, that's the one they focus on the most. They also want to be loved and connect with other people. How do you think that works together? Those 2 things work against each other. They're a tension of opposites. You want to be significant, but you want to feel loved and you want to feel connected to people. And you can do both. You can be significant and connected through your love. You can feel loved and connected through your significance. There are healthy ways to do it, but so often we get into unhealthy ways of doing it. So need number 1, certainty. Number 2, uncertainty and variety. Number 3, significance. Number 4, connection and love. Number 5 is growth. We expand, we learn, we become more, we become wiser. It's not about growth in terms of having more money. That can be part of it. That can be a way of keeping score in one little category of life. But there's so much more to life than just that. So contribution is need number 6. Contributing something to a story bigger than your own that matters to other people. And Tony identifies these last 2 needs, growth and contribution, as the spiritual needs. This is where fulfillment comes from. The first 4 needs, certainty, uncertainty, significance, and connection, are the basic needs of life that give us a sense of success. They can be achieved largely, not exclusively, but largely through scientific, technical processes, step-by-step formulas. and so forth. Growth and contribution of the spiritual needs, that's where we get the art of fulfillment. So think of it this way. The science of success is the step-by-step how-to way to get more success that you want. But how many people have you heard of or do you know that are very successful and they're not fulfilled at all? Growth and contribution bring the fulfillment to the equation. So, key number 5 to a stressless, fearless life are the combined fulfillment of the needs for connection and love. Now, why do I pick those two needs, and why is that significant? First of all, we all have one or two of these needs that are our primary go-to home base. It's where we go for soothing ourselves and feeling better. Either it's certainty and safety, or it's uncertainty and risk-taking. These are thrill seekers, people who ride roller coasters and jump out of airplanes and do crazy stuff like that. So look at the needs right now and ask yourself, which two are my go-to needs that I go to most often? For some people, it's certainty and uncertainty. It's this crazy mix of just those two needs. There are many ways you could sort which are the most important needs, and none is more important than the other. But using a combination of these needs consciously, where you choose intentionally which ones to use, can yield extraordinary results in life. Choosing connection and love means you can focus on these, and where your focus goes, energy flows. And that energy flows back down through the rest of the needs, and it takes you to life at a higher quality level. This is the place where you get ultimate fulfillment. Those are the 5 keys to a fearless and stressless life. Not a life that'll have no fear, no stress, but you'll fear less and you'll stress less. Now, one more thing I want to share with you before we wrap up today. Maybe you're curious about, how do I create the life I desire, even if I've tried and I've failed in the past? What if I've had some huge, great misfortune that's eating me alive? What if I lost somebody I love? What if I lost my home? What if it burned to the ground? What if I have a terrible disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or cancer? Typically in those situations, it's not something we expected to have happen to us. We all think of ourselves as the main character in the movie of our life, and the main character, as we know, is victorious and rides off into the sunset and happily ever after they live. Only that's not always the way it works. Bad things happen to good people. I think it's more accurate to say things happen to all of us. Whether they are good or bad, we don't always know. Sometimes the most uncomfortable, the most painful things that happen to us are the best things that ever happened to us. And sometimes the most pleasurable things that happen in our lives hurt us in the end. The key is be conscious of what's happening. And if you find yourself, like I did recently, the last year's been a real training ground for me. I had numerous opportunities to increase my resilience, my emotional regulation, and my self-awareness. And I've learned how important it is, especially when I find myself saying, well, this is not where I expected to be in my life right now. When your expectations are in opposition to reality, you get misery. Here's the key. Trade your expectations for appreciation. Anytime you find yourself saying, this is not what I expected, then ask yourself, but what can I appreciate about it? What does it make possible? How can I use this? What's great about this? Ask those questions. Talk to yourself more than you listen. I've got more to say on this. I'd love to hear your questions, your thoughts, your feedback. Put it below. And until next time, I pray for you that God will do more for you than you can ask or even possibly imagine. Peace to you, peace to your house. Live long and prosper.